We're all going to get 1,000 copies. Happy birthday, George.
I would like to introduce Jerry Lyons, okay, one of George's sons. And I think Jerry has the distinction of coming from the furthest distance for tonight's party. So Jerry, take it away.
So this is for the camera, not for the PA system. Okay. So first of all, thank you everybody for coming, and I would like to just say a few words. First of all, I've been asked to warm up the audience for my brother. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to actually pass the mic along, because I consider that actually done now, because he'll do fine, to my sister, who will lead us all in happy birthday for my father.
That's me. That's me.
Oh yeah, George is our father.
It's a short one.
A one, a two, a three.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear George. Happy birthday to you. All right. All right, thank you. Jerry, thank you.
One other thing before we let him say one or two words.
I have the mic. We all have the mic.
We had to get this on the record for the tape. So,
lean against the wall
You have to move the mic on your left.
how's that? How's that?
Can you hear me now?
Okay. So one last thing I want everybody to do is mark your calendars for Saturday, May 25th, 2024. We actually have a reservation for another party.
Okay. So it's my turn. Let me just put this other mic down, if you don't mind. So first of all, welcome. Thanks for coming. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Foster Lyons. I think a lot of you I've met, but for the rest of you, I'm the youngest son, George's youngest son. Anyway, but on behalf of my father, my brother, my sister, my entire family, the entire extended family, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, for coming. Some of you certainly really extended yourselves to be here. I know Jerry got the honor of traveling the furthest, but I'm pretty sure it's Charlotte who actually came the furthest. But certainly everybody took time out of their day to be here, and we really appreciate it, all right? And I'm sure a bunch of you are going to want to get up here and talk, and that's fine. We have the place, I think, until 2 a.m. So You can all say a few words, but
Should be done about
yeah.
by then.
But if you don't mind, let me say a few words, and then I'll pass the mic on to Gino, and then you, and then you, and then you. So we'll keep going. I've only had 50 years to prepare this, so if I had a little more time, it would have been shorter. But anyway, I hope you can all bear with me. Anyway, what a great thing for me and for my family, and hopefully for everybody. But certainly more so for me. I got to spend 50 years with my dad, and that's been fantastic. That's really an honor, and I feel really lucky because not everybody gets that chance to spend so many years. Which I hate to say so many for me, but anyway, it's been great, and certainly that's what I've been thinking about in the recent past as this party was approaching. But then, of course, I remembered, I'm not really the lucky one, honestly. I mean, I'm the baby. Look at my sister and my brother. They're way older than me. I mean, they're lucky so much more than mine. I mean, they got to be just brimming. They're going to stop at the casino on the way out of here or something like that. Anyway, as I get older, I find myself, it must be a family trait, more and more stories as I get older and more of my stories are about George, as it turns out. So it's very similar, right? Yeah. But he's really had this extraordinary life, and I find myself telling stories about my father's extraordinary life. He doesn't know this. He's not at the same parties I go to, but if ever, some paths cross, he'll find out from people I've spoken with that, in fact, I'm talking about him, and not in a bad way, in a good way, and that's a pretty good thing. So what I want to do is relate, George's extraordinary life to you, but through, my experience, my life, and have my view of it, and his highlights through my eyes. All right, so hopefully, I've got a little bit here. Hopefully you can bear with me, but here we go. So, 1961, the third child's born. Yeah, and here we are. No. But I want to.
Do the math.
All right. Hold on. I want to start with a story of a story, and this is sort of classic George, at least from my point of view. Maybe my brother's experience, yours is different. But I'm talking to my dad one day. I don't know, probably sitting in his living room up here, and we're talking about work and taxes and gardening and whatever. And he relates a story to me that I had never heard before. Now, mind you, this is only about, I don't know, maybe it's 2 years ago, okay? So, I've had a pretty long life up to this point. I pretty much thought I knew everything. He tells me a story. And the story is that he remembers when he was 9 years old, as a kid, the first time they got an indoor tub at his house. Okay? So now, the moment he says this, you got to imagine I'm just like, shocked and stunned because, I grew up in privilege. I mean, he gave me a great life. I mean, you name it. We had it. I didn't have to do it. So I'm like, this can't be. It can't be that my father grew up without indoor plumbing, right? This is like impossible. And then but son of a gun, he's got all the details. He's got everything, right? He starts rattling through it all. Yep. They brought the tub in, they hooked it up, and before that, by the way, we had to bathe outdoors in the wooden tub on the back porch. Mom had to heat the water up, clean his kid first, then tell the dirtiest kid, right? Now, where's Bill? Is Bill in the room? Bill, I'm gonna have to get you in a corner later to see if this story's really true or not. But anyway, it was a great story when my dad told it to me. But the end of this long hot bath story is basically, it's good to know that, I think everybody should know, and it was certainly good for me to know as a kid growing up. My dad came from relatively humble beginnings and certainly made a great life for himself and for his whole family. But he grew up in a house that was built by his great-grandfather and surrounded by family, and both in the house and in the neighborhood. And then, look around today. Some of them are still here today, all the way from his childhood, still in the room today. So the family is all still here, still that same sort of environment. So that's, one great story I remember from my dad over these years. So one of the other great and lucky things I feel about being my father's son is, I get to inherit some great genes, right? I mean, rugged good looks, full head of hair, quick wit. But there's always been this one thing that you know what it's like when you know you deserve something, that should be mine. I deserve that, but I didn't get it. It's frustrating, right? I'm going to miss out on this inheritance. I can't play a musical instrument to save my life. I'm lucky if I can play the radio. Right? Like if I can play the radio, it's going to be on talk radio. It's not even music. Like that's how bad I am at music. But my father is a great musician. He always has been. He's concert pianist, concert organist, and what a great gift in life. I mean, to entertain people like you've probably all heard him play at one time or another, to fill churches with beautiful music. And, imagine when you're young and you're, 18 and you get to play in resorts and you're single and you're entertaining all kinds of single other people this is, what a great thing, right? So that was, I always have just, been irritated that I didn't get any of that. But anyway,
They tried.
Honestly, the sound of my childhood was going to sleep with my dad playing either classical music on the piano or jazz or some kind of show tune on the piano, literally right down the hall from my bedroom. And it's a fantastic memory from my childhood. My poor kids didn't get nearly that. They fell asleep listening to CNN or something like that, But one of my most memorable or vivid images of my dad and music involves my mother. And maybe some of you knew my mother. She's no longer with us, unfortunately, but certainly in memory. But my dad sang at her funeral, in her honor, and he sang a song called "On the Wings of Eagles," and he sang it a cappella. Okay, not even. He's a great pianist, but he skipped the piano and just sang a cappella, and it was really poignant and moving. And you can imagine it's a beautiful church, and only one person is singing, and this incredibly honest, compassionate song, and it was just unbelievable. And for me, having listened to him play all these songs and to really see him, honoring my mother that way. And the amazing thing is, I didn't even know he knew any Eagles songs. That's from the 70s, and he was from earlier era, and somehow he pulled it off. So it's not only that he's talented, but he had range of, classical to rock. It was unbelievable. So anyway, so who here has seen George's Grease photos? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody ever seen the Grease photo? Were there any up here tonight?
Yes.
A bunch. So contrary to what those of you that have seen the photos might believe, George was not born on a yacht in Greece. Right? It's like, he must be from there, right? So no, on the contrary, he was born, I'm going to exaggerate a little, but he was born right down the street, Troy, New York, okay? And like his brothers and like a lot of men born of that era, he was drafted into the service in World War II and went off to war in Germany. And although it was before my time, my brother may have a few memories of that time, but it was before my time. But like anything else in anybody's life, it sort of casts a shadow through your life, and I certainly have some memories that relate to that significant event in my father's life, and I'm going to relate a few of them or two of them to you. So we grew up, in Tarrytown, New York, and there was always a gun in the kitchen drawer, and the bullets too, right? Now my dad's not a gun guy. I've never seen him shoot a gun. He probably has. He's been in the Army, but I never saw him shoot a gun. But son of a gun, we had a gun in the drawer. And he took that gun from a German. Now, as a kid, imagine that. you know, your dad beat the Germans so bad, beat the enemy so bad that you're now using their weapons as toys in the kitchen. You don't even care about it. I mean, this is fantastic, right? I know. That's how great my dad was, you know. Anyway, but it turns out it's not that he was great and he saved the world, from all that sort of thing. But it turns out he was smart and he was fluent in German. And at the end of the war, they sent him around town to town as they advanced, and he would get assigned to go house to house and take all the guns, all the cameras, all the Nazi propaganda material. So at the end of every day, he had this tremendous amount of loot, but a couple of things were the only things that made it back to Tarrytown, New York, 30 years later, and one of them was a gun that ended up in the back of the drawer. Now, even smarter than that, my dad figured out that the first place you should collect all the guns and cameras from was the brewery in every town, because they could, think of, no, don't laugh. They can hide the guns in the grain, he told me. So they always went there first, huh? Saving the world one brewery at a time. Anyway, the second thing, considerably more serious, honestly. There's something I learned from my dad as a result of his experience in the war, but maybe he just knew it inherently. And he always taught us, and he certainly me, that don't ever confuse sophistication or education or wealth or privilege with right or morality. He was witness to some of the most horrific crimes against humanity committed by one of the most sophisticated societies that ever existed. And I think, I could be wrong, but this is a lesson I took from him, both as a child and as an adult, that don't ever be fooled by that privilege, and don't ever be fooled by a huckster. Believe in yourself, try to do the right thing, and don't fall for this high image of something, this high society, for lack of a better term. And don't be afraid to fight when you think they're wrong and right needs to be held up. So I really appreciate that lesson in life, and the brewery lesson too. But the morality lesson was a good one, and I hope I can pass that on to my kids. So a little later in my dad's life, he goes on to, amazingly, he goes on to have a career, because we're only he's only about age, 30 at this point, I got a few more pages. So, but probably all of you know, he had a very successful career as a dentist in New York City, all kinds of honors and, all kinds of fantastic patients, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, for me, as a kid growing up, that's certainly my memory of his working career, but there's only really a couple things that I want to relate to you. So, and how his career impacted me to this day. So one of them is the fact that he chose to work in New York City. So as a result, I grew up right outside of New York City. I was in New York City all the time because, I ate candy like they were giving it out, and I in there constantly getting my teeth drilled. So I feel like a New Yorker, and to this day I work in New York still, and I live right outside of New York. So personally, I think New York's the greatest city on earth, and honestly, I want to thank my dad for that. It's I love New York, and if it weren't for him, I don't know, maybe I'd live in Oregon or something. But so anyway, but the other thing is, and a lot of you probably don't know this, but my dad can drive a car like Mario Andretti, all right? And I know you're probably all thinking like, what the hell does Mario Andretti have to do with dentistry and 90th birthday party, this and that? So okay, let me back up, jump in a Wayback Machine here. So our appointments to get either our teeth cleaned or to get our teeth drilled or get our Novocaine shot were always on Fridays. So Mom would pile us in the car Friday around lunchtime or 2 o'clock or whatever, drive down to the city, and we'd have our, it would all get drilled and filled and cleaned and this and that and the other thing, and be about 5 o'clock, that's all done. He'd shut up the office. We go out to dinner. I'm a kid at the time, and I always, he took us to nice places, very nice. I'm telling you, we grew up with privilege. So me, I only want a hamburger. Got to have a hamburger. Got to have a hamburger. I'm the baby, so of course they ought to have what I want. It's not my fault they don't have what they want. They should have what I want. But anyway. So anyway, dinner ends. Now it's time to drive home. The drive. This is where my dad shone. I don't know. I mean, he might have been the greatest dentist in all of New York City, but for sure he was the greatest driver. We'd get on Madison Avenue, going north, right? Going home. And man, he's speeding, he's honking a horn, he's weaving left and right, you know, he's timing the lights, he's slamming on the brakes, you know, that is like, you know, half an inch on each side to the next car to weave it through. Unbelievable. We'd hit a pothole as kids were flying, bam, against the ceiling, you know, blah, blah, blah. Zoom up, you know, into the Bronx, boom, all the way home. And I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. Because remember, my mom grew up in Canada. She learned to drive probably in a farm or something, you know, like the suburbs, you know, the entire rest of my driving life was like, you know, suburban Tarrytown. You see 2 cars all day. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're driving with your dad on Madison Avenue going 100 miles an hour. It's, wow, this is fantastic. So anyway, you know, I'm sure he had a great dental career, but, you know, whatever. That driving thing was, you know, super fantastic, you know. It's like driving with a veteran cabbie in New York. It was just unbelievable. So, and he always got us home. Other than maybe the one time, I don't remember any accidents. And none of them were fatal. Not one fatal accident. Everything was fine. But anyway, speaking of home, home's a good place to wrap up this way too long toast. You know, my father provided such a stable home environment for us kids. It was fantastic, and honestly, I'll probably never develop into you know, the author that needs to solve some problem from his childhood as a result. But you know, there was always food on the table. Mom and Dad were always home every night. We had everything we could ever ask for. It was fantastic. Everybody was loved. You know, and then all the normal things of pets and this and that and the other thing. It was fantastic. And you know, and look at the results, you know, for my dad. You know, what I would call the Lifetime Achievement Award. You know, his children returning. You know, I get the advantage of picking on my brother because I have the microphone. But honestly, he comes back across the country, you know, to honor my dad and my sister here. You know, grandchildren here, brother here, ski buddies, drinking buddies, general buddies. Gino here is the fellow that, what's the word for it? Took over George's former practice. You know, here to honor my dad, and you know, it's just so everybody's here to celebrate. You know, a great guy, a great life, and a great father. So. Here's to George. Let me get my drink.
Yeah, hold it.
Here's to George. Happy 90th birthday, Dad. And enjoy the party. So.
Can we do it because he's a jolly good fellow?
What's that?
Can we do it because he's a jolly good fellow? Not really.
Oh, I'm okay with it. Yeah. So. I think Gino wants to say a few words, so I'm close enough. He can speak into this mic, right?
Oh, good. Can you hear me? All right, but I didn't know I was going to say a few words, but I'm honored to be able to say a few words. Firstly, my relationship with George started out really on a professional basis. We, as you just found out, I ended up taking over his practice, and so it started out professionally, but within a very short period of time, it became apparent that it was going to be much more than a professional relationship. And there were a lot of very strange, as time went on, early on, there were a lot of very strange coincidences that seemed to happen, and it seemed like more and more it appeared this was really supposed to be this way. And so, for instance, one day, one of his patients is in a chair, and this guy's the president of a bank. And he starts asking me all sorts of questions because I'm the new guy on the block. And where'd you grow up, and so on and so forth. And it ends up that I grew up in a town nearby where he lived. And then he said, you know, by the way, my wife used to be a teller at Peninsula National Bank. And so I said, well, that's weird. My parents got their mortgage for the first house at Peninsula National Bank. And so his wife calls later on looking for him. I said, oh, your husband just left. I found out we have a little bit in common. So I go ahead and tell her what her husband said. She said, well, where'd you grow up? I said, in Hewlett. And she says, oh, my parents owned a house in Hewlett. I said, really, where? And she said, Crescent Street. I said, that's strange. That's a street I grew up on. 50 years later, I speak to the people that sold my parents their house that I grew up in. They were patients of George's. And then it didn't end there. It was like, so one day, and George has a fantastic memory. So one day we're having dinner together, and George had gone to Columbia Dental School, and my dentist growing up had gone to Columbia Dental School. So I thought to myself, God, there's a bit of an age difference. I know George taught at Columbia for a few years after dental school. And I said to George, did you know a guy by the name of Mike Diamond? And he says, sure, Mike Diamond was a student of mine. So now the guy who took care of my fillings as a kid was taught by the person whose practice I take over all these years later. And most importantly, so it was, as I said, it seemed like it was meant to be, but what it was meant to be more is that we ended up, it's 21 years since he retired. And 21 years later, now he considers me part of his family, and I'm happy to be part of his family. I'm honored to be part of his family. But my dad died when I was 23, so he has been like a second father in many ways. So it's a pleasure to be here, an honor to be here, and cheers, George.
Yeah. So we're happy to pass the mic around, or we can light. How about we light the cake and sing "He's a Jolly Good."
One thing about Gino.
Uh-oh.
This is all right. I told him 20-some years ago, I was president of the New York Academy of Dentistry in part of my career. I said to him 20-some years ago, one day you will be president of the Academy of Dentistry. And he laughed his full head off. He thought that was a ridiculous statement. I went to New York 4 weeks ago to witness his being become president.
Yeah, but how's he drive?
Right. Oh, wait. By the way, just to let you know, Foster is still a patient of mine. He doesn't have any cavities.
Wait till he gets those new digital X-rays taken.
He barely ever has anything.
That's because I floss all the time. Inside joke. I go there, Gino's like, you gotta floss. I'm like, Gino, my dad told me it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Anyway, so, all right, they're lighting the cake. So how about some He's a Jolly Good Fellow or some such thing? Or yeah. 90 candles. Are you going to be able to do this?
Where's the fan?
All right. So how about we give him a He's a Jolly Good Fellow, huh? For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny. Nobody. Hooray!
Hip, hip!
Hooray!
Hip, hip!
Hooray!
Make a wish.
Does anybody else want to say anything? We got Kevin.
As far as stories are concerned, we're very appropriately named. Lying. I'm indebted to Kathy Inez Morning for this cake.
Yes.
Because it so happens that she served it one evening, actually for your birthday party. And she said, this is Otto's favorite cake, and it just so happened it is also my favorite cake. Just a coincidence. So when it came time to discuss this party with Bill and Mary, I thought, why shouldn't I have my cake instead of a carrot cake or all the usual trappings? So I called and visited Kathy, and she very nicely consented to turn the recipe without any problem at all. So, so this cake is one that is sort of part of the family. Thank you, Kathy. And she pre-tested one, you know, and said it actually tasted better than she had expected.
Oh yes, and I had a group of you testing it with me, so.
You didn't invite me over.
Well, actually, I cut a piece and I forgot to bring it to you.
Oh, I just passed these down.
All right, the bar is open again.
Yeah, the bar is open. The party is not over. What you say, supposed to
I don't know. Back in the whatever.
I thought you had I'm thinking of Craig Russell. I'm thinking of
I wouldn't expect so.
Lexi, what is your favorite memory of George?
We'd go skiing a lot, all the time when I was little. I have a few memories of when they still lived in New York, but my real memories, when he had just moved up to Vermont. We went skiing all the time, and we'd come home, all the cousins, and we'd sit around and make up songs. And they always started off like based in reality, and it'd be like, oh, you know, his trip to China, and he'd be climbing the wall, and then me and my cousins would always jump in, and it would be like, and then he split his pants. Like all these funny stories about like what might have happened on his trips and stuff. So we had a lot of fun with that. Skiing, laughing afterwards.
So who is George still a better skier than you?
Always has been. I'm sure always will be. I did get to sled down the mountain one time though, and I think I'll have that one on him.
So I'm going to ask you a question that's not on the list. So who's more likely to embarrass you, Foster or George?
Foster, my dad, obviously.
That's the last easy question that we'll have tonight. What would you like to say to George on his birthday?
Grandpa, happy birthday. It feels like just yesterday. We were at your 85th birthday. I can't believe the time has flown. All my love, happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, Jerry, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
A couple of questions, for posterity, for the camera. Number one, did you get in more trouble with me or without me when we were little?
The answer to that is yes, but probably without you.
Without me. Without me, okay. Number two.
I never got caught when I was with you.
Number two.
You got in trouble.
Number two, did you move to Oregon to get away from the entire family or just me?
Actually, it's because you lived on the other side of the George Washington Bridge, and it was easier to visit you from Oregon than it was the drive from New Jersey.
That makes sense. Number 3. When was the last time you let your 90-year-old father beat you at any game?
That had to be 1971. It was a Sunday, and I'm pretty certain it was an arm wrestling competition. And I was too tired at the time to do it, but I beat him later that afternoon, and that was it. Never again.
Nice, nice. And what would you like to say to Dad on his birthday?
Well, first of all, happy birthday. And then I have 1 or 2 confessions that I would like to make. So these are things that you don't know that you should know.
Don't do it.
I'm going to do it. This is the stuff that he wanted to get. So first of all, when I was really, really young, okay, probably one of my biggest recollections or first recollections of you is how strong you were. And that's actually why I used to try and arm wrestle you and beat you. But I remember that from when we were really little, and you would take us swimming, and we would usually go out over our head, and then you would swim back. And I remember feeling how strong you were because you'd be pulling me along. I'd be hanging onto your back. And then, going through high school, I took a couple classes that weren't that easy, and you seemed to always know everything about the things that I was struggling with at the time. So from that point forward, I always thought you were one of the smartest guys out there. But probably the thing that, long term that I most thank you for is, your ability to sort of get along with the entire world, and everybody enjoyed being with you, and everybody had a good time with you. And if there's one attribute that stands out, that's definitely it. And hopefully I can replicate that, in my life. So anyhow, happy birthday.
Thank you. All right, I see my sister Ann here. I think it's time for a few questions for Ann. Come on in. Are we still live with the camera? All right.
Microphone down a little.
Hello?
Look, microphone just about to your elbow height. Just keep it low.
About here?
Yeah.
With those hard
Hello,
questions.
Ann.
Hello, Voss. How are you?
I'm well. All right. Question
The interview.
Question number 1. How angry were you when they brought me home from the hospital?
That's a good question. I'm going to plead like senility. I don't remember.
All right.
At that age, I could do that. He has a better memory
All
than
right.
I do. He could probably tell you all about it.
Number 2.
Let's go to
Number 2.
Did you answer that one?
No, but I can answer that.
Go ahead.
Oh, Jerry Lyons stepping in.
Stealing the show. Go ahead.
Not only was she sick that day, but she was really angry.
Sick.
She was really, really angry, and that it didn't last that long, maybe 3 years.
Well, that's a good lead into the question number 2. Do you think you'll ever get over the fact that I'm the favorite child?
Are these questions all about you? Who wrote these questions? Let's rethink this. Well, we know that fact is not true. It's Willow. Come on.
Okay. All right.
It's Willow. We all know that.
All right. So question number 3. Why
is Foster the favorite child? Question number 4.
What's your favorite memory of Dad?
What's your favorite memory of Foster? It's all about Foster, I'm telling you.
Favorite
Okay,
childhood
this
memory.
one I can answer. What would you like to say to George on his birthday? That's what I think of my brother Foster. Hi, Jerry, and I know you moved to the West Coast. Dad, I love you. I'm going to be serious for a minute, if Foster will let me. I love you. I think I can speak for everybody. We have been blessed to have you as a dad, a grandfather, as our role model. You've been generous, kind, and an outstanding father to me. Love you, and I wish you many more years that I can enjoy with you. Love you, Dad.
Thank you, Ann. Down. This is my son-in-law, Kevin Madiger, married to my daughter, Lexi. So, Kevin, a few questions on my father's 90th birthday. So, number 1, the first time you took the Vermont tour, did you think it would ever end?
It was long, but I did enjoy it. I came from Delaware, so it was all flat. I'd never really seen mountains before, so I was really just, I don't even know if I answered any questions that were asked of me. I think I was just pretty much staring out the window, just in awe of, giant hills that I didn't know existed.
All right. All right, second question. Who's the better cook, me or George?
All right, I'm going to pay you a compliment, but I don't want you to go to your head. You're the better cook, but only because I don't think he's ever actually cooked for me before. We've only ever gone out to dinner, so it's only on the technicality.
So what you're saying is I'm the better cook?
If you want to read it that way, fine.
Okay.
But
all right.
My answer stands.
All right, question number...
Yes. Yeah, he makes a better reservation.
Question number 3. What's more creepy for you? My photo above the stairs at George's house or the bear rug hanging up from the wall at George's house?
Definitely the bear rug, yeah.
Bear rug. Bear rug more creepy than
Yeah,
me staring
absolutely.
at you. Okay. All right. Anything you'd like to say to George on his 90th birthday?
Yep. Happy birthday, and I'm just so happy that I get to be here and help you celebrate it.
Tell him what happened to his non-stick pan.
All right.
Confess.
No, I wouldn't do
Yep.
it. I wouldn't do it if I... Interview over.
We can end with
Interview
that.
over. Yeah, we can end with that. Yeah. Vacation.
Oh,
You come back from vacation. They still ask more questions about George than you.
they're now calling him Gene, and they call me George Vacation. So they're always asking questions.
Okay. Interesting. Still. All right.
No, absolutely.
Is it true that George told you that flossing was not important?
I think he told me that fluoride was not.
Fluoride is important. All right. All right.
Actually, that was a part.
Colgate question.
Okay. All right. All right. Does George know that the immediate family freebies at the office are over?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
All right. What would you like to say to George on his 90th birthday?
George, I wish you all the best. I look forward to your 100th birthday party, and hopefully you'll make my. I hope I make it to 70. So, but happy, healthy, and wonderful birthday. I couldn't have been luckier and happier to have you as a friend. Happy birthday.
Thank you. All right. Here we go. Bill, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's nice being here.
Couple of questions. How many times did Joe have to rescue you and George when you 3 were little?
Well, I've only got 5 fingers on my hand, so I'll have to use 2 hands. Okay, that's my answer.
10 times. 10. Okay. What is your favorite childhood memory of George?
My real favorite, my childhood memory. He constantly followed me when he was a little toddler. I can always remember that. Always. Yeah. It's at the time it annoyed me, but in retrospect, it was kind of a beautiful thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. What would you like to say to George on his birthday?
Georgie, baby, what happened to you? She was supposed to say the same damn thing. I was supposed to say that. You don't know why I said that, but that's it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Not too long
Not
ago.
too long ago. Not quite a year.
Year in August.
A year in August, and we were at her wedding. And let me tell you, she really knows how to dance. Her and Kevin put on one heck of a wedding.
Busted
okay?
out all the moves.
And remember this, Lexi is my favorite niece, and she's the.
You heard it. You heard it on camera.
That's right. She's my favorite niece, and she's the first one of all the I'll call it George's grandchildren to get married on my side and on
That's
my
right.
wife Ann's.
You've always known me to be very
side.
competitive.
So yeah, she's a great soccer player, and one of these days, I know she's into biker and stuff like that. We're gonna have to go biking together.
I know. Well, I'm a little bit intimidated after seeing the race this morning through the hills of Vermont, the mountains of Vermont. But give me 40 years, I'll get there. 40 years.
No. Lexi, she's a fighter. She's a real athlete, all in all. She's part of that Lions tradition. You look at hopefully you've seen Ann and stuff like that on
I know.
interview and stuff, and they're very, very competitive.
That lion's blood.
That lion's blood likes those sports. They like to compete and they like to win.
I know. Oh my gosh.
So she looks like a really nice, innocent young girl. But if you were riding alongside her on a bike,
Yep.
when
Well,
it
you
comes
know,
to the finish
my
line, she's gonna beat
grandfather
you.
taught me when I was little, He taught me how to ski, and that's it. As soon as I learned how to put those skis on, it was straight down the mountain. He knew he had to get me this, do you guys remember that neon hat they got me so they could find me?
And it's sort of tradition. My daughter, Kara, who's not here, is roughly a little bit older than Lexi, but not much, but she learned to ski up here in Vermont on the beginner's hill as well.
I know.
So, a lot of them did really, really well.
A lot of fun on that bonanza. So, pop quiz here. Did Grandpa ever try to show you how to fix things around the house? Or when is the last time he did, I should say?
Probably hanging up a coat rack that Ann gave him and things like that. And the garage door opener has been a thorn. He has a mystery garage door opener. Every now and then, when you least expect it, it just opens automatically. So we think there's a ghost in there or something like that. But I've looked at it, and I'm sure he's looked at it, but we can't figure it out. We have no idea.
Grandpa, if you want to come to my apartment and fix anything up, just have my number. So, why do you think Grandpa never went rock climbing with you?
I think people look at rock climbing and they say, that's kind of like strange or all in all. What do you want to do that for? There's a lot better things to do than that. But George, for his time up here and stuff like that, did a bit of skiing all in all, and it's pretty amazing just that he gets out and still goes skiing and things like that. So my hat is off to him all in all. The other thing that we kind of imparted on George, we have a dog, and this winter we were coming up, the dog has been coming up, and the dog I think is his new best friend.
Willow is everyone's best. Oh my gosh, that's the greatest dog ever. I know. I still tell everyone the story of how the one time I drove my car off the road in Vermont, right on his main road there, Old Coach Road, and it was only a few years ago, and he shoveled me out. My friends and I are dead tired, and here my grandfather is shoveling me out of the snow. So thank you for that. I can't believe what amazing shape you're in. It's very impressive. Too funny. All right. Well, what would you like to say to Grandpa on his 90th birthday?
George, have a happy 90th birthday, and I think you're gonna make the next 10. We'll be back here at the 100th.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. That was good. Those are good.
Too much wine.
So I hear we have some breaking news on the Georgie baby front.
Yes, I truly love George. I've known him for quite a few years, and we have a special relationship. I can't help hugging him and giving him a kiss whenever I see him. And today, when I happened to see him at the Green Mountain National Clubhouse, he was getting out of the car and he said, "Carol," and I said, "Georgie baby."
There you go.
I'm the guilty party. And I've been told by his brother that he will never let George forget it. So, I do apologize, George. Special day, special year, and here I did this to him.
Oh, too funny. Well, what a great birthday wish. That was so nice. Caught on tape.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That was cute. Grandpa, we have a confession for you. We broke your nonstick pan. I washed it with a Brillo pad. I'm really sorry. So Max, we've had a lot of good years of snowball fights.
I really have, yep.
Swimming pool fights.
I forgot baseball too.
Baseball in the backyard.
Yep.
Playing on the recorder in the room off the garage.
The mini golf, you know.
Oh, I forgot about the
mini golf in the living room, you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Grandpa used to beat us every time, but still fun.
It was still fun though, so
I forgot.
can't complain
Oh my gosh.
about that.
Taught us how to golf. Taught us how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Taught us how to pack a mean snowball. What's your favorite memory of Grandpa?
You just went over like a whole bunch of baseball, mini golf though. Remember when he used to live in New York? Remember he'd take us to McDonald's every day. He'd go like the playpen, like those like McDonald's, Burger King, and like go like in the balls and
the ball
stuff,
pit.
you know. So I like train series where when he used to live in Scarborough, take me to the trains and stuff. So there's a lot of different memories of him. I really appreciate it for what he's done for
I
us.
know,
So
it was great having, thanks, Dad. It was really great spending all that time when we were little. That was too fun. So,
plus we lived right down the street from him too.
I
You
know,
know, so
yeah.
we were able to spend a lot of time with him, which was good. Which we
True.
got all those memories from him. You know, so.
And you still go to the dentist practice, right?
I still go to Gino down there, so I'm still keeping up
Now,
with the
who
family.
is the least painful doctor? Dentist.
I don't. Grandpa retired. It was like I was only maybe 5 or 6, but I can't even remember. So by default, I have to say Gino.
Oh.
Unfortunately, by default.
Busted, Grandpa. He'll remember this. And what do you want to say to Grandpa for his birthday?
I wish you a really happy birthday and hope there is many more for you to come. Love you always. All right, so we're here with Charlotte. Thank you for coming to my grandfather's 98th birthday party. I'm sure you really appreciate it. I just have a couple of questions for you. Number one is, how did you meet my grandfather?
I met George at the Rosenblum's annual New Year's Eve party.
Okay.
And he told me about being a master gardener, and that's all I knew about him, that he went to a master gardening
He
class.
still does all that too. So.
Yes.
All right. Number 2 we have is, does my grandfather have a go-to expression or phrase, and if he does, what is it?
Your grandfather says marvelous a lot. That's his favorite thing, marvelous.
And what would you like to say to him on his 90th birthday today?
I want to say to him that he stole my thunder when he gave me his invitation for this party.
Oh boy.
Because what it said in the invitation was, in celebration of a wonderful life. And I always thought if you made a movie of George's life, you would have to find Frank Capra to be the director. And obviously Jimmy Stewart would have to play George. And from everything I've heard about Maureen, she was Donna Reed, from what I can tell. And one thing about your grandfather, he does not like to talk about his World War II experience. But there have been occasions where we've been sitting here at the bar at the Birch Ridge, and it gets later in the evening, and he's told me some of his experiences. And besides being shot in the Alsace during World War II, he also had 2 very close near misses. I mean, really, there were 3 occasions where George would not be here for his 90th birthday. And the only thing I can say is that the good Lord looked after him so that he could have this wonderful family
Thankfully.
and a wonderful life.
Yes, thank you.
Happy birthday, George. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Here from my Aunt Gwen flew out for Oregon this evening for this very special occasion. So I just have a couple of questions for her. As her husband gets older, can you see that he is looking more and more like my grandfather?
Yes. I went to pick up Jerry last Friday night at the airport, and it was dark, and it was like midnight, and I'd been driving a long time during the day, and I thought, man, I'm so tired, and I thought, oh, I'll just look for somebody that looks like Jerry's dad and like Uncle Bill, and I'll be able to find Jerry.
All right. Are you still surprised when Jerry eats the entire fruitcake that my dad sends at Christmas?
Never. It never surprises me. Jerry loves fruitcake, and he'll eat everybody's fruitcake, and he'll eat everybody's piece of fruitcake. And and he's always excited when it comes. Like he announces it when you get home. He's like, "Guess what? The fruitcake came today." Yes, no lie. He's very excited. Yes. And he hides it so nobody. That's it. That's right.
And what would you like to say to my grandfather on his 90th birthday today?
I just want to say happy birthday. I wish you very, very well. And when I think of my fondest memory of you, it's when you were patient enough to go skiing with me at Killington when I was learning how to ski. And coming from Ohio, that was a big deal. And one of my favorite runs to ski with was going down Needles Eye, and he would be always so patient with me and ski with me. Always a gentleman. So thank you very much and happy birthday.
Thank you.
All right.
Our favorite George story is probably about our annual Christmas party. Noli and I throw a Christmas party every year for about 45 people with cocktails and dinner. And George is the highlight of the party. George types up...
As if I'm surprised.
George types up a whole list of Christmas carols and Christmas songs, gives them all numbers, makes plenty of copies, and George gets at the piano and he says, we'll start with number 3, Silent Night, and everybody sings. Then we have an Austrian guest, Walter Lindemeyer, who used to be the associate director of the Killington Ski School, and Walter sings Silent Night, Holy Night, which is
German.
Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht in German, and we all sing Silent Night in German. And George pretty much takes over the party and runs the caroling group. So that's probably my favorite.
Then we go to
George
show
song.
tunes.
Then we go to show tunes.
You're funny. What's your favorite show tune that he does?
Oh, God. I can't think of my favorite.
Well, the one that George has played it to us over the telephone when we're at our house, and it's the woman who is selling flowers in a cold, cold night, and all I want is a room somewhere from My Fair Lady. And yes, that's probably our favorite show.
We sing it together.
Any demos? No takers? No takers? Well,
Okay.
I'll spare you. But so as people partying with George Lett, where should we do his 100th party?
Probably the Birch Ridge Inn. Bill and Mary are the most
We've
wonderful
had very
hosts and
very
hostesses
great
in the
times
world.
here.
So probably right here.
Absolutely, right here.
I love it.
God bless
So
him.
any birthday wishes for the birthday boy?
The birthday boy,
Yeah.
he is. We wish you all the best, and we'll see you probably tomorrow, but next year, the year after, another 10, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
A couple of questions for you for the posterity of the camera. So could you tell us, how did you meet George?
That's an interesting question. I met him when Maureen was still alive, and I'm not sure if it was through the library or at somebody's party, but I knew both of them well, and I know, I'm pretty sure it was also through the library because I've been a library trustee for a long time.
Okay. All right. Okay. So can you tell us, do you know what year George was born?
This is my 3rd vodka and tonic.
All right.
And we are in 2014 minus 90. 14 minus 90.
Anybody got an iPhone?
I know, I have one in here. What is it? No, it's 14 minus 90.
All right.
It's 2. I can't figure it out.
We can move on. Not a
I
problem,
know.
not a problem.
I knew which
Not a
years they were
problem.
both on, but I
All
can't
right.
subtract.
What would you like to say to George on his birthday?
Well, I want to tell him that he is the best boy toy on the side that I have ever had.
Boy toy.
He's an
How's the
yes.
matter with you, a boy toy?
He's my Wednesday night boy toy. Because my husband every Wednesday either has planning commission or Rotary, and we go to the Garlic with several other couples, and usually the only 2 people who are not with their spouse are George and I. Now Charlotte's been coming and she's spoiling all my fun because she never used to come. But now she started coming. But before then, it was just George and I. And one night, as a matter of fact, I was coming down dressed, and I was all dressed up, and my husband asked me, "Why are you so dressed up?" And I said, "I have a date." He said, "You have a date?" I said, "Yeah, I have a date with George Lyons. It's Wednesday night."
All right. Well, thanks for being here, and thanks for sitting in on our
And
questions.
happy birthday. Happy 90th, George. Here's to you.
All right, thank you for coming, everyone. We want to record a few messages for George on his birthday, so we have a few questions, okay? So number one, what's the funniest thing you've ever done with George?
Ted, you answer that. It was skiers. Skiing, must be skiing.
Actually, I haven't skied all that much with George. I think it was something that conversing with him at the opera.
We're his opera buddies. We're his opera buddies.
Oh,
And sometimes
among other
ski
things.
All right, all right. Okay. Two more questions. One, not so easy maybe, and one easy. Don't worry. If George were a tree, what kind of tree would he be?
A maple.
Maple. Maple.
He's sweet as sugar.
Maple. You think maple also?
No, I think he'd be an ash that's very flexible and
blows with the wind.
Blows with the wind.
Sturdy oak.
Sturdy oak. All right.
When I say flexible, I don't mean that way. I mean his body movements for skier and individual are
Athletic. Or something.
Very much.
But an athletic
Okay.
tree. I like an athletic tree.
All right. All right. So what would you like to say to George on his birthday?
Happy birthday, George, and many more.
many more just as good as this one.
There we go. Same. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And we'll see you at the opera, George.
All right, thank you, ladies, for coming tonight. My father's birthday. So a couple of questions for the camera. So number one, what is your favorite story about George?
Oh, my favorite story is when I needed to go on a trip, and my knee was really bothering me, and he offered to drive me up to Montpelier, and I said, no, I can do that. And I called the plowman because it was snowing something fierce, and I knew he plowed a lot when it was really, even in the middle of the night, it's a lot of snow. So 4 o'clock, I heard him plowing. Okay, so I got up, got my stuff ready, and then I heard shoveling, and I said, well, I knew he said he'd plow me out, but he doesn't shovel. It was George. He was out there shoveling. He helped me get my car out of the garage, packed my car for me, and then handed me a bag with breakfast.
Oh my goodness.
Wow, very nice.
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah. Anybody else with a story?
My story is my son, Craig, was invited to his 80th birthday party, and I am at his 90th birthday, and we're both coming to his 100th.
Excellent.
So that's my story.
Okay. I don't really have a story, but I met George through skiing, and I always enjoy his company.
Very nice, very nice. All right. Second question. Did all three of you, or did any of you know George during his Love Boat years?
I did not know.
Did not, no, did not. Okay.
Maybe we should ask him about that.
What would you like to say to George on his birthday?
Oh, happy birthday and many more.
Oh, definitely. Many, many more. And we're right with you, George. We all want many, many more, and we'll celebrate together.
Happy birthday.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Well, thank you for coming. Tonight, a few questions for posterity. Question number one. What is your favorite story about George?
I knew that was going to be.
You tell yours.
I haven't got one. There are too many.
Too many.
Too many to mention.
All around, too many?
Too many.
Too many, but I think the first time we met George was very good because we were moving into a house and someone invited us to meet with neighbors, and we met with George and his wife at that time.
Very nice. All right.
He baptized us before we moved in.
Yes.
Okay. All right, question number two. Were you invited to this party, or are you crashing the party?
Oh, definitely invited.
Right?
Definitely invited.
It's even hanging on our bulletin board by the back door.
All right.
I'll show it to you if I have to prove it.
Ditto.
Question three. What would you like to say to George on his birthday?
Happy birthday and many more.
And happy birthday to a very dear friend.
happy birthday and many more birthdays to come.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
We ready? All right. Well, look, thank you for coming tonight. A few questions for posterity. So, what's the best time you've ever had with George?
I think at the parties we've attended with him. He's been a great host, and we've really enjoyed our time with George.
Very nice. All right. How many children does George have, and do you know any of them?
We just met his granddaughter, Lexi.
Don't say we just met them. We could say we know Lexi.
And they're the nicest couple we've ever met.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Okay. And what would you like to say to George on his birthday?
Happy birthday, George, and happy 90th and
90 more to go, George. You're the greatest.
Thanks so much for stopping by. So, how did you meet George?
I met George on the ski slope, and I wish he was still skiing.
I know, he's a great skier. He taught me how to ski.
Did he really?
He did.
When
he
was
did.
that?
Oh my gosh, years ago. If I'm turning 25 now, it had to be about 20 years ago.
Oh.
I might have seen you on the slopes.
You probably did. I'm still
Too
out
funny.
there.
Oh my gosh, where do you ski now?
Pico mostly.
I'm a Pico person.
And yay, Pico.
Too funny. What's your favorite slope?
49er.
49er. My husband, I think, just learned how to ski.
Oh, I used to like KA, upper KA and
Yeah?
middle KA. They were my favorites.
Too funny. So what would you like to wish George for his birthday?
Oh, many happy returns of the day.
Too funny. All right.
And lots of drinks and lots of friends that are here.
Thank you so much. Happy birthday, Grandpa.
Happy birthday, George.
Thank you so much.
So we live in the yellow house next to George. And George, we know you came into that house many times as we were building that house, checking on it, making sure it was built to the same quality as your house is. So hopefully it is. So the first neighbors, though, we met were actually the Rasmussens, which they told us all about you. So we got heads up a little beforehand what a great neighbor you were. So it was no surprise to us when you came by with these beautiful plants for us when we had really just dirt as our yard. So Bruce, my husband, comes from a long line of gardeners, and to us that meant a lot. And they have flourished and they have spread. And we actually have taken some to our house in Connecticut, so we have, memories of you in Connecticut too. And just so happy that we could make it to this birthday because we missed the last one. And you're a wonderful neighbor. It's amazing to me that as busy as we are, you're busier than us because you're never home. So anyway, you're an inspiration, and I hope that we can have half the memories and wonderful times that you've had. Thanks, George.
I'd like to be interviewed. I don't want to free. Oh, come on, Sarah.
I don't know if we have a funny story, but what I always like to say about George is that, I've been married to Sarah almost 20 years. Unfortunately, I never got to meet her father. And she met my dad, but who's passed away. So my children don't have any grandparents or grandfathers. And George, being our next door neighbor, is Grandpa George. The kids call him Grandpa George. So he always brings over Christmas presents and birthday presents for our kids, and it's really special to have George next to us.
It is very special. But my children are both anxiously awaiting to ski off your roof, like your kids did and your grandchildren did. So hopefully this year, on your celebrating your 90th year, the beginning of your 91st, we'll have a ski off George's roof. Thanks, George. Happy birthday. Happy 90th.
Happy birthday.
So I'm here with my mom, Bridget. Obviously, thank you for coming up here. I'm sure you appreciate it. So I want to ask you your favorite question about my grandfather, your father-in-law.
My favorite memory?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I've known George for so long. Foster and I met at Georgetown our first year. Jerry was a senior.
I was
and,
there the day you met.
You were there the day we met. So of course I have many, many, many memories, probably too many to remember right now. And He's a fantastic guy. So mostly what I'd like to do is just first thank George. He's been, of course, a wonderful father to Foster, Jerry, and Ann, and so we've all benefited from that, and a great father-in-law, and as you know, a great-grandfather, right? You guys have been lucky to have a really great-grandfather, and he's had a fantastic life, so we should all be so lucky. This guy is such a remarkable guy.
Like another 90 years, you know, like, you know?
Exactly. I've known him for over 30 years, and he still pulls out stories I haven't heard before. So here's a guy who's been through everything. Went in the war, had a fantastic career as a dentist, came up here. There's a million stories, just a remarkable man. He's smart, he's handsome, he's witty, he's charming. So I feel like I really lucked out getting him for father-in-law. And certainly am wishing him the best, and we're already starting to plan the 95th and the 100th, right, Jared? Where's the 100th going to be?
Yeah.
Right here.
Countdown to the 100th.
I got a reservation.
Yeah, make your reservation now. Booking tomorrow.
So obviously that led into my question 3. What would you like to say to him on his birthday?
So I think we all just want to. Do you want to come in, Lex, and we'll all just switch
My
around?
sister should come in here too for this question. So.
A very big happy birthday.
Happy birthday! Happy
And we
birthday!
love you.
Love you, Grandpa.